Okay, let's talk about larger expressions with rational numbers, and we're going to apply our rules of multiplying fractions, dividing fractions. We're also going to throw in some associative and commutative property. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms being multiplied. We know that the commutative property of multiplication says we can switch everything around. We'll still get the same answer. So I want to look for an easier way to do this problem. Hopefully, maybe get rid of some of our fractions. So what I notice here is I have a 4, a 1/4, and a 16, and I know 4 is a factor of 16. So I'm going to use my commutative property to move these two together. And I always want to write my new problem. Okay. And I'm going to use my associative property to group these two together first. I'm going to do that part of the problem first and get that fraction out of the way. So I'm going to leave my 5 times -3. And I'm going to take 1/4 times 16. I know I can take 16 and to make it easier, put it over 1 so I can see that what my numerator is, what my denominator is. I'm going to cross reduce. 1 and 1 already reduced. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So we get, our next step is 5 times -3 times 1 times 4 is 4, and 1 times 1 is 1. So all of this equals 4. Okay. I am going to choose to do the -3 times the 4 next, because whatever I get, I can easily multiply that by 5 to get my final answer without pulling out a calculator. So I have 5 times -3 times 4 is -12. And I know that 5 times -12, I could skip count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and so on and so forth, to get -60. Okay. All right, this next problem is very similar. I just have 2 fractions and there's some division thrown in. So the very first thing that I want to do is I want to take, I'm going to move my camera for a second. I want to take those fractions and I want to turn everything into multiplication. So I know it's keep it, change it, flip it. So keep the 1, turn it into multiplication, find the reciprocal of the next number, bring down the rest, keep it, change it, flip it. So keep my 8, change to multiplication, flip this into 3/1 or just 3. So now I really only have 1 fraction. Okay, so like what we did in the previous problem, I want to move things around that make sense to each other. This has a 4 in the denominator. 4 is a factor of 8, so I'm going to use my commutative property to move those two numbers together. Okay, and because that's that fraction, I want to see if I can get rid of it. I'm going to do that part first. So I'm going to use my associative property. This is 8/1. Cross-reducing, 5 and 1 doesn't need to be reduced, but 4 and 8 can both be divided by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So every step I always need to include every part. And then I know that 5/1, or 5, times 2/1 or 2. So 5 times 2 is 10 times 3. And then I can just start multiplying. 1 times -3 is -3. And I'm going to bring this 3 over here. I'm going to use my commutative property to switch the 10 and the 3 around, because I want to group these two and do them first, because whatever I get there I can multiply by 10 very easily without whipping out a calculator. So negative 3 times 3 is negative 9 times 10, and I get negative 90. And I didn't have to pull out a calculator for any of this, which is great, much faster.